Welcome to the Samuele Tini Show, where business, innovation and sustainability converge to drive progress. Are you ready to uncover solutions shaping our future? Let's dive in. Welcome to a new episode, and today I'm thrilled to go and meet somebody that has done a lot for not-for-profits in Africa, and she also wrote a book on how to improve and how to master finance, which is often an overlooked but very important part. So I'm very pleased to have today a friend that is also a colleague of the master, that is Bukonla Adebakin. Buki, thank you so much for being here with us today.
So much for having me. I'm so glad that I'm able to come to the podcast today. Good morning from Lagos, Nigeria.
Fantastic. Thank you, Buki. And Buki, before we start to discuss the book and your experience in the not-for-profit in Africa, can you tell us a bit about you? Who is Buki and how you have become an expert in the field?
Okay. Thank you for that question. Hi, everyone. My name is Buki again. And who is Buki? I would say I am a multifaceted professional. I have about over 10 years working experience, working in the intersection of media, technology, and development. Focusing on the area of development now, I've worked on social impact initiative across Sub-Saharan Africa. And what I have done combines a thorough understanding of these initiatives, financial and strategic organizational management, project management, from end to end. And I would say I have been committed, in assisting organizations in ensuring they make maximum impact, through storytelling, working with stakeholders, and giving them opportunity, and I've given the opportunity to serve on board and providing valuable support to this organization. I'm currently in a growth marketing agency as a chief operating officer, and I still love impact work. And I believe that service to humanity is the best work of life, and where there is really no impact, I can't say for sure that an organization is thriving, whether it is for profit or not for profit. So that's a bit about me.
Wow, and then it's important, you come from Nigeria, the UK, and also you have, let's say, a broad understanding of the situation of our continent here in Africa, and
Yes.
especially in the not-for-profit area. And I want to ask, how do you see, since we have worked with several projects for impact and other, how do you see the situation, especially in Nigeria, in Africa, for the sector?
Oh yeah, I think the sector is still a growing sector, and I have seen Africans who are very much interested in social impact courses for Africa, by Africa, but having passion for it is not enough. There's still a lot of moving parts within the sector that needs to be worked on. We have, within the sector is, when we say, okay, this is the third sector, the sector shouldn't be looked at a sector that is not so relevant, because we're seeing more organizations trying to embrace their CSR to say that even though we are making profit, we are also able to give back to the society. So we shouldn't think of the third sector as an afterthought. It is a very important intricacy, very important part of any given continent or any given country. So we still have a long way to go in terms of, fundraising, in terms of communicating impact, in terms of even people thinking that they can take this on as their own career path. There's still a long way to go. And I would say that it's good that we are already thinking, look at the diminishing funding coming into Africa. But this program still needs to go on. So it means we have to put on our thinking caps and find possible ways to ensure that we have the resources to run not just our administrative and operational, part of every organization, but to keep these important projects running. So I would say we still have a long way to go, but we are on course.
Yeah, I know, and especially now with the sector a bit under turmoil, with the fundings and things, is not that easy. It's not that easy. But as
Yeah.
you said, is a critical part, and I see also this blending, the social entrepreneur, the work of the third sector. It is not just what was in the past. And I think you have done a lot of work in the professionalization and the work. So especially, I'm referring now that you have even put yourself out, wrote a book, to help the sector.
Yeah.
And I was struck because it is the profit of purpose, the mastering financial accounting and reporting for social entrepreneur. So can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit more why you came up with the book? What was the rationale behind it? And then we can go delve a bit into it.
Yes, thank you so much. This project is very dear to me. The decision to write the book, when I realized that I am coming from a non-financial background myself, but because I've had to raise funds, manage funds over the course of a decade, and I have first-hand information on what is obtainable, how I've struggled, how I was able to come out of the struggle, what are the things I did in terms of budgeting, in terms of cash flow management, in terms of running an organization and running projects in multiple locations across Sub-Saharan Africa. I would say that I have the experience and I can speak to it even as a non-financial person. So when I decided to write the book, I was like, okay, I'm a non-financial person. I would be able to speak on this topic from the eyes of a non-finance person and make it into much simpler words that a non-financial person can learn and pick this thing up. That even when you have, it does not negate a finance person on your team, but even when as the co-founder, as the project manager, as the project assistant, as the M&E officer on any project, when the finance person is speaking in numbers, you understand. You are able to, you are the one on the field as a project manager, you are able to like say, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I'm supposed to document, this is how I'm going to account for the money given to me. So you're not coming off as a complete novice. You should know. Everybody should know numbers. And a lot of times people don't know that numbers are data, and this data tells stories. Number tells stories. So even after I took a break from money running, leading the Future Project, which was the organization I was leading at the time, I got a lot of requests of people, please, can you check this budget? I'm applying for this grant. How do I go about it? Or, oh, I've gotten this grant and I realized that this line item is not sufficient enough for the activity. Do I move a particular line item to this line item? How do I go about it? And I had to do some level of hand holding with some organizations and just show them, no, you cannot. Can we see what's in your agreement? You cannot move a line item to another line item. You have to write back to the funder and get approval. And all of those little details that we don't talk about. And funnily, I had to learn by doing, because I did not really have a senior or a mentor that was showing me that, oh, in terms of financial part for nonprofit, these are the things required. I had to fail, learn, relearn, and all of that. So I just, when I thought about it, like, this would be good, because I kept receiving a lot of, can you look at our budgets? Can you look at our financial reports? I was like, okay, this looks like a problem. So I'm not alone, you know. So I did a poll. I ran a poll, although it's a very small sampling, about 350. And I was like, if there was anything you need support on, what would it be? And funnily, I had thought that, storytelling would come first. And surprisingly, financial reporting was the top, followed by fundraising, and then the storytelling.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, is it that? I was like, is it that people have cracked the nut of storytelling? And another thing I was like, storytelling is not the only way you can get funds. Sometimes your data showing what is happening would help you. So I was like, no, I was fighting it. Like, I think storytelling would be a better one. But people were like, what can I see the data? People are really struggling. So it sort of just validated, okay, this is what people need at this time. And I started to, put together my thought. And then I realized that this is a lot, this is a lot. And also for further validation, I was like, okay, I need to speak to people who are in the space. to come contribute. And that's how I had yourself, Raquel, the Coco, and Simi come on board with me. And everybody was just a fine, a fine woven line. Just the way the book came out, it's just so beautifully written. And I love that even though you guys are experts in your field, you were able to also find a way to tone down the words for easy understanding. So I would say that this book is a gift to the social sector space. I mean, anybody who pick this up would have a full understanding of, there are 7 chapters in the book in total. And we spoke about understanding financial accounting and management. We spoke about, understanding international, reporting standards. We spoke about tax management, compliance, and audit. Like this tax issue, I mean, I think it's a general issue. We spoke about understanding financial management, documentation. Then we spoke about reporting style and methodology. I think chapter 6 also touch base on management and control of accounting. Yeah. And then the last chapter spoke to fundraising and monitoring and evaluation. So the book just simplifies concepts, around all of these things I've mentioned. And in the book, you also have practical exercises that provides hands-on experience for every single chapter. And to help, enhance understanding of all of the things that is being spoken in the book. Then we have cheat sheets. The cheat sheets contains like concise, easy to reference information that summarizes the key concepts that the author and the contributing author had mentioned in the book. And then we also have like frequently answered questions. Like these are questions over time people have asked me, and I've asked several times, and I just put it together. And I think I have up to 10 or 15 frequently asked questions, and even more. So this is even more than a finance book, because the core of any organization is your finance. You don't have any finance to run, whether from friends, family, your donor. I mean, you're not running anything, or even yourself. Yeah. So this is a very good foundation for any social sector leader.
And Buki, what I really liked, and thank you for that, it's really a guide for people, because for us that we are in the sector, that we are here in Africa, we hear a lot about the discussion about localization, bringing development closer to community, bringing things towards ownership and all this discussion. But of course, we need to strengthen civil society organization and people. And these are the questions also people discuss every day: the finance, the accounting, and it's the fundraising. Those are the 3 pillars. Storytelling. We have a lot because change is there. But then of course the nitty, sometimes we lose on the numbers, and that's why I think the potential that is there is not yet. So I think this book is very welcome. And I'm pleased that I was honored to give my humble support to you and the work, but because it's really important for us to work on that part. And if I may ask something a bit more, can you give us a sneak peek of something, or maybe a cheat sheet or something that we can maybe help entice the audience?
Okay, I think I would think of something around the cheat code.
Yeah, because practical things is what I really liked a lot about the book, being practical, because for somebody in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Uganda, in South Africa, you read and then you can put in practice. That is what is really important.
Yeah. And one of the things you would find in the book is for every chapter, there is an activity for every chapter. When people just take a chapter, you have your practical tips and takeaway for each chapter. And then you then have your interactive exercise. So the book is not just leaving you alone to just go figure, if you get what I mean. The book is actually, showing you like what you've learned, what can you do, how do you do it. You take a practical example, you run through it, and I think what we've done has done justice to that. It's going to help a long way. and people are not, left alone to just go figure it out. And like I said, it does not replace the role of your finance director. It just means that you know what your finance director is saying or your account person is saying, and you're not left in limbo. Yeah. So going on the cheat sheet now, I have definitions of like income, what's the income, the total number of money coming into the organization, e.g., the total number of grants coming into the organization. I think some of us in the sector, like I also work in the for-profit sector. So sometimes when you are doing non-profit, you will know that what you call your profit in the third sector is called surplus. And what's the surplus? Cash left over after all project or program expense has been deducted. I know there's a part of the book where we talked about when you have surplus on a project, what do you do? The ideal thing to do is write to your funder that, oh, there is surplus on this particular project being funded, and we want to channel it into XYZ, or we want to, put it into running our operational expense. And then you get, luckily, you are able to get an approval for that. And then it also talks about what liabilities are, what's your cash flow statement, what is the cost management, what do you mean by receivables? What do you mean by grant installments? What do you mean by cash flow? What do you mean by timesheet? What do you mean by net salary? Also, you talked about the cheat sheet talked about what would you, when you have what are the taxable items? You know that as a non-profit, you do not pay tax, but there are some things that are taxable. What are those things? What does the country you are in say about the things that are taxable, even though you are not an organization that should be taxed because you're a non-profit, and many more. If I have to go over it, there's such a whole lot that is in the cheat sheet that would really be helpful. And then there's also the frequently asked questions. And like I said, there is the interactive exercise for every chapter, and there are key takeaways, just like summary of the whole chapter that you can know. The reader can pick from and learn. And I would like to say this is a guide. It's a guide. It's not boring. I can say that. When people say finance is boring, oh my God, da 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 da. This is not boring, I can assure you. We use the simplest of language for easy understanding. And I can tell you for a fact that when you start to read, you won't drop the book.
And it's so relevant because those are the questions that I got asked, even when you have to present your annual return, for example, here in Kenya. And then sometimes you have an hard time to discuss with your accountant and say, no, so if you have a surplus, this is a profit. It's not profit because, of course, those are funds that are allocated for specific projects. So if for some reason, then we have to ask the funder some modification. So it cannot, because of course then it's taxable and other. So those are questions that's really and terminology that should master it at the local level by any organization, because otherwise this is what we call empowerment organization, empowerment of people, empowerment of people that are delivering critical missions. So maybe we are busy farming, we are busy supporting environmental conservation, but we also have to look at the numbers, and it's such an important part. And which are the next steps for the book? What are you planning? And then how do you want to create a community? How also people can get the book? This is also a much easier question.
So we're trying to get the book to as many social entrepreneurs as possible. Like I said, it's not just for the people on the field, it's also for the executive director who needs to know what the numbers is saying and able to make informed decisions using the data being shared by the finance person. We are trying as much as possible to speak to the non-profit, sector leaders, so that for proper dissemination. We are also looking forward to partnerships to get this into as many hands as possible. And the book will be officially launched to the public on the 27th, and the book is now available on Amazon and Seller. For those that want to purchase, you just check the name of the book, The Profit of Purpose, Mastering Financial Accounting and all. so you can get it. And then we've been speaking to quite a number of people, quite a number of organizations who are willing to buy and then also distribute, because we believe this is a guide, an important toolkit for every social organization. Because if you don't know your numbers, then you are playing. You can't even do every other thing. And if you don't know what are the things I need to do in terms of fundraising. And I think at first, that particular chapter, the last chapter of the fundraising, was not added. But after a lot of deliberations, we're like, okay, it's an important part, because it's only when you can fundraise, you can manage the money and then grow you understand. So just it's such an important book, if I say so myself. And I am very, very optimistic about the impact it will create for anybody that get their hands on the book. So yes, we are launching it in Lagos, Nigeria on the 27th of March to the public. It's available on Amazon.
Fantastic Buki. And it's such a pleasure to be part of this journey, because it's also an important part in the empowerment and walk the talk about localization and supporting African organization, as we are. And I want to ask the last question, if there is a message that you want to give to our audience, the audience of our show that's listening all over the world, what will be that one?
Okay, an important message I would leave is service to humanity is an important part of life. And because you are trying to, your passion is what is fueling it, and you're trying to give back to ensure that we make the world a better place, is also to develop your own self as you're pouring into people. Because a lot of times as social sector leaders, we feel passion is all there is. We need to continue to fuel ourselves in order to keep pouring to people. And I would say well done to every social impact leader. Well done for putting, these courses that you are chosen to, stick your neck in and, fight for the cause. We have a long journey to go, but your own quota, your own contribution is what is making, the whole puzzle fit together. Well done.
And Asante Sana, thank you so much, Buki, for this wonderful discussion. And we are looking forward for the success of the book. Thank you so much, Buki. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you
so much.
Are you satisfied after this wonderful episode? Let's continue together our sustainability journey.